What's going on, guys? It's Joseph from My Games Reviews here, and I'm here to bring you guys a new segment on the channel. It's called Budget Decks with Cardfight Vanguard. So I put a lot of hard work into this deck, lots of trial and error, and it's the Grapha Ride Chain deck for Megacolony. So here we go. Starting Vanguard, Larva Mutant Grapha, running 4 heal triggers, 4 draw triggers, and 8 critical triggers in the deck. Those are our grade 0s. We're running 4 of the beginner Ride Chain, Pupa Mutant Grapha. He's the one, he's the one that's going to get out your grade 2 and your grade 3 in the beginning of the game, and possibly in late game. You normally want this to be in the beginning though, but he will always get you out the grade 2. He searches it through the deck, and when he's called to rear guard, you discard 1 grade 3 megacolony unit from your hand, and you'll be able to grab out your grade 3 Grapha. We are running 3 Megacolony Battler Bees. Now this guy, when he boosts, you counterblast 1, and you can stun a unit, so that unit can't stand next turn. We're running 3 of the 8K vanillas. We're not running 4. I felt like 4 is too much, and this deck has a lot of boost in it already, and you'll see in the upcoming cards. I'm running 2 Stealth Millipedes, 10k booster when all of your opponent's rear guards are rested. Obviously running 4 perfect guards, just because when people start doing crazy damage, when they get to like 40k, 50k, sometimes 30k, and you just can't block it, you have your perfect guard right here. Just take them out. Alright, on to the grade 2s. We're running 3 Elite Mutant Graphas. You only need 3 because this card's kind of dead when it's in your hand, and it's not a Vanguard. Once it's in the rear guard, it's just a 9k beater, and it's really not that great. It's kind of annoying to have 9k beaters when you could potentially have 12ks, and you can have 10ks, and yeah. Now the cool thing about this card is when it's a Vanguard and it attacks, you can, without paying any cost, it automatically makes it so your opponent can't stand a unit. So a lot of people would like to block this unit from hitting, and it's just good for them to just waste hand. Now here's one of my favorites, Steel Cutter Beetle. This card gets plus 2,000 when it attacks. It loses minus 5,000 power though if you don't have a Grapha as Vanguard, so that's either the grade 2 or the grade 3 Grapha as your Vanguard. Still a really good card, 12k beater. Really can't complain about it. Potentially becomes a 22k or just a 20k beater, or 18. Just a great card to have. We have 4 of the 10k vanilla Bloody Hercules, just in case you don't have Grapha as your Vanguard and you don't want the Steel Cutter Beetle out there, because then it'll only be a 5k rear guard. You got the 10ks right here. We have Tail Joe, potentially at an 11k beater. Not that bad. I know I complained about the 9k vanillas, 9k that you would just have a 9k beater, but the 8k isn't all that bad. Again, you could use him for intercepts if anything bad were to happen. Still a great card though, because he can become 11k, but we only run 2 for those purposes. Just in case your opponent starts to not rest their units and they keep 1 alive, you have tons of backup in this deck in case any of those things would happen that a lot of people like to do against Megacolony so they can't get their effects. Normally you'd like to run just 2 of those cards that need all units to be rested in order to get their effects off, just because if you get the opponent that knows what they're doing and how to handle the deck, how to get around it, you always have backups. We're running 3 Grapha. Now this card kind of becomes dead when he's already out, but he is also good to ride in the rear guard. He's a 10k, but he becomes an 11k if you have Elite Mutant Grapha in the soul. Really good Vanguard. Now he has kind of a Kagero effect, if he hits, you counterblast 2 and discard 2. Sorry, you retire 2 megacolony units that you have, and you can take out a grade 1 or lower rear guard that your opponent has. Now, this is really good. You really don't want to abuse this effect. You want to use it at the right time. Normally, you want to take out your back row instead of like your front row units, unless you're planning on riding another unit in front of him. But taking out back row units like Battler, Megacolony Battler B, where this card hits, now you get 2 effects. He hits, you're going to be able to take out 2 cards. So that's Counterblast 2. Counterblast another one, that'd be like a Counterblast 3. Now Megacolony Battler B, sorry that I'm slurring all over my words, but Megacolony Battler B will be able to stun a unit like a grade 3. So therefore you just took down 3 cards. Very, very good. Very, very good to have. Very nice combo in the deck. But there's also other combos. You use the AK Vanilla, it becomes a 19, or Stealth Millipede, 21 Vanguard, not bad at all. He keeps that plus 1,000, so your opponent always has to try to get over this 11k beater. I mean 11k Vanguard, and it's really annoying. But if you don't get the chain off in this deck, don't worry. That's why we have many backups. I'll explain them. Now we have Martial Arts Mutant, Master Beetle. We run 2 of Master Beetle. Now, before I used to run 2 of him and 2 Hell Spider. Hell Spider is not good for this deck. Actually, it's not good, in my opinion, anymore. Unless you're not doing a good alpha deck. He would kind of work out in this deck, but Counterblast 2, and you get to stun 1 card when you can just Counterblast potentially 1. I don't know. I kind of like the Counterblast 1 more than 2. I'm not a huge fan of counterblasting a lot. With lots of counterblasts, this is a Counterblast 3, and before he attacks, you can stun 2 of your opponent's rear guards, but you have to Counterblast 3 in order to do that. So, he's alright. Plus he's 11k, and he's good to have out on the field. It's really hard for opponents to get over him as well. It just causes more of a challenge, that they have to have that extra boost or that extra guard, and that lowers their hands by a lot. Now I run 2 of the butterflies. This unit by itself can become 12k. All you need is a Megacolony Vanguard, and she gets plus 2,000. Now, the grade 3s in the deck. This deck is not reliant on these grade 3s right here. These guys are normally used for backup. You sometimes want to have her as your rear guard, butterfly. You don't always need Battler Beetle, or Battle Beetle, whatever the hell his name is. Master Beetle, sorry. As your Vanguard or as your rear guard, only when you're in trouble. Say if you don't get the ride chain, don't worry. Say if you don't get Alpha out fast enough. It's alright. You still have Master Beetle, but Master Beetle also isn't your only backup. Like I was saying, I put in the four 10k beaters. These are 2 of them right here. 4 10k beaters for backups, because Iron Cutter Beetle isn't always going to have that 12k. You have Iron Tail Joes for that 11. I have, not these guys. You also have your Stealth Millipedes, and then your AK Beaters. Normally you don't want those out on the rear guard circle, front row rear guard circle. But, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. Sorry. Now, I've paired this up against many friends. I've paired this up against my Gold Paladin deck, which in my opinion I think is very good. I'll do a deck profile on that. I've paired this up against Narukami. I've paired this up against Aquaforce and Angel Feather, and it has done very well. Once you get the ride chain off, 9 times out of 10, the game's yours. It really is. If you know what you're doing, you know how to combo, and you know the strategy of the deck. You don't get the ride chain off, you're in a tough situation. There's backup cards, just so you can build up into good alpha again. But once you don't get the second ride chain, if you don't get the grade 2 into the soul by the time you can ride a grade 3, there's no point going for good alpha. You start using good alpha as a discard for your perfect shields, start bringing out Master Beetle as your Vanguard, and then put pressure on your opponent, because they're always going to want to guard Gaddafa. They're always going to want to guard Gaddafa, and you need to see when the opportunity is needed to use Master Beetle's effect as well. Now, you don't want to just use it just because I can use this effect, I'm going to use it. So it's like with Blonde Dazzle. Oh, I finally got 4 damage. Let me just start counterblasting away, even though my opponent's at like 2 damage right now. You don't want to do that. You normally want to do these things when you're pushing for a game. The limit break is to help you when you're pushing for the game, when you know your opponent is in a tough spot and you just want to seal the deal. You're going to stun 2 of your opponent's rear guards. You could potentially stun 3 or 4, because it's counterblast 3. So if you have 5 damage, you can technically get off 5. The 5 counterblast, which would be able to stun 4 units that your opponent controls. You don't want to stun grade 2s. Grade 2s can still intercept. But the thing that's good about stun is that your opponent doesn't get to attack, or they have to retire that unit and put cards from their hand onto the field. And it's very annoying, because your opponent has to give up resources that they could use in order to shield themselves from getting hurt. With the draw triggers in the deck, it's good. You always have consistency. You're still going to be getting that consistency with having the Pupa Mutant. The Pupa Mutant Gaddafa, he's going to, like I said, he's going to get out your grade 3. Say if I have 2 butterflies in my hand, or I have an iron, or I have a Master Beetle in my hand, but I don't have Gaddafa, that's fine. If I have 2 of these guys, or if I draw into another one of these guys, put him down, discard a card, grab him, and then I get Gaddafa into my hand instantly. To start off with the chain. This deck is very easy to get the chain, but it all depends on if you have Pupa Mutant. He's basically the athlete of the whole deck. It depends if you have him in your hand and on your Vanguard. Because if you don't have him and you miss, then you're relying on Elite Mutant Gaddafa, who I have seen come into my hand a lot, and that's why we run 3, we're not running 4, because, like I said, running 4 isn't consistent. You're just going to start getting stuff in your hand that you don't need. It only has Vanguard effects. It gets that plus 1,000 if Pupa is in the soul, and that's about it. And it's all Vanguard effect. It's not helping you out anywhere, where you could just have the 10k beater in there, or you can have Tail Joe in there. I used to run Toxic Troopers. Toxic Trooper is a non-intercept unit. When he attacks, you can't intercept. He was a 9k. I thought he was good, but he could only get up to 19, potentially, and I just didn't see it as something that was that great. I mean, it's good that he stops the special guards, but your opponent would normally use their intercepts beforehand, and then when he's coming up, they use their shields, so it was just kind of dead weight in the deck, really. He started to become dead weight, and I just didn't want him. I tried out the Mad Fly Scientist or Professor, just to get rid of dead cards in the hand in order to draw 1. He wasn't as consistent as I thought he would be. I tried Hell Spiders, just in case you don't get your Gaddafa out. You'd have a 13k Vanguard if all your opponent's rear guards are rested. If they're not rested, he does not become 13, and he's just a 10k beater. When I could have a 12k beater right here, I could have the 11k Master Martial Arts Beetle. So, again, there's tons of dead megacolony cards. I tried working with different deck styles, and I found that the Gaddafa was the best one. It's extremely cheap, guys. This deck would probably run you up to, I don't know, maybe less than $70. Because I did a lot of experimenting, so it brought me close to like 100. But for this deck right here, it's going to run you up to what? Maybe 70 bucks or so. So yep, this is our new segment on the Cardfight Vanguard Budget decks. So I hope you guys look forward to more of these. I want to hear feedback, good and bad. Tell me what I need to improve on. I'll obviously have a better camera. I'm using my phone right now. We'll have obviously effects and stuff. And yeah, My Gamers Reviews is back with Cardfight Vanguard. So yeah, remember, rate, comment, and subscribe. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. Peace out, guys.